questions. So what do I enjoy most about my job? Okay, as a project manager, the thing I enjoyed most was actually taking something from nothing and creating something. So to me, like, it was so fun in the beginning when a project sponsor and executive would say, hey, there's this project, and it literally didn't exist. And I had to kind of help him or her pull the idea out of their head and create that vision, and then work with the team to figure out how are we going to get there. That's my favorite part of the project process, and just, really supporting the team and helping them be successful. That's my favorite part. The piece of advice I wish I knew going into the professional world that I had to learn on my own. I love this question because, and I'm happy to share this with you. Okay, so I grew up, in Central PA. My father was a railroader, and his father was a railroader and a World War II Marine. And so in my house, these men said very few things, but when they spoke, like, they said exactly what they meant, and they meant what they said, and that was it. When I started to work with clients, as a consultant and inside the Fortune 500, is almost no one actually just says what they mean and means what they say. And I just was shocked by this. It was shocking. Like, I don't get it. And people would ask me, well, Dawn, what do you mean by that? And I would just repeat what I said. I'm like, I mean exactly what I'm saying. I don't know. What else could it mean? Like, are you confused? They're like, oh, well, I thought it might mean something else. Well, what else could it mean? I mean, and then I would repeat myself again. I was so confused. So anyway, what I urge you to think about is that if you grew up anything like me, is that and I've seen statistics on this because I've studied this and I've done communication styles classes and everything, and taught them. And, we have that communication styles workshop and all of this, right? 7% of what people are saying is coming out of their mouth. Only 7%. Most of what people are saying you can read through body language and tone of voice. So get good at trying to read people. This is very hard for somebody this was very, very hard for somebody like me. I'm still working on it. I still expect people to just say what they mean and mean what they say. So that is the one piece of advice I'm happy to share with you that was hard for me to learn, and it was shocking when I had to learn it on the job. What is the single most quality for a project manager? Okay, when I teach our practical project management course, there's a module called "What Does It Take to Be a Great Project Manager?" And the number one tip for what it takes to be a great project manager is leadership. So if you see a leader inside you, project management could definitely be for you. Single best thing to know about that. And there's a lot packed into that I don't have time for right now. But definitely, leadership skills, leadership development, all that kind of stuff will help you, be a better project manager. I hope that the 7th edition, what I went through with the 7th edition, the 7 facts helped, the person who asked about the 7th edition. Again, it's blowing my mind. There's more out there. There's more to know. It's not even out yet, but we will be creating the game. So if you want to get in on that, join me definitely on social, and you'll find out what's happening with that next. The best way to study for the CAPM. So another tip on this is, and I'm not trying to sell you at all on my game. I promise I'm not. You get a 7-day free trial on the app if you have a tablet or iPad. So, but the best way to study is to study the process, because the CAPM is it's very, very heavy on the process. So go to, and I think I have it up, I can show you later, but just go to PMI.org and find, the CAPM on PMI.org and read all about it. And you can download the exam content outline and read that too. And you'll find that a lot of the exam is the process. And so if you know the process from my game, you'll know the framework in the process groups and knowledge areas, okay? You'll know the process by playing the game, and you'll know where everything fits, and the arrows show you the inputs and outputs. If you know that process, that's going to help you on the CAPM and or the PMBOK guide. And or the PMP, sorry. Yeah, because it's all based on the PMBOK guide process, and that's a big part of the exam. So definitely that's a big, big tip there, but go out there, whichever cert you're interested in. If you're interested in a cert, go out and read all about it, and then, decide what's the best way for you to attack the thing.
Dawn, in the chat, I put the link for the CAPM cert information.
Great.
And also the exam content outline link.
Great. Yeah, and on that CAPM page, you can see there are a bunch of downloads you can get, including the exam content outline. Excellent, thank you. Cool. How would certifications like these help you move up in a large company in a management role? Okay, there are some companies that are looking for people who have these certifications already, especially the PMP. The PMP is the most recognized project management certification in the world. And there are others, like if you're in the UK, Prince 2 is quite popular. That's becoming more popular in Asia, but in America, especially, but all over the world, the PMP is recognized. So if what the PMP says to me as an employer is it says you have demonstrated that project management is your profession. The same thing with the CAPM. The CAPM is kind of like PMP Junior, right? Which means to me, okay, you don't necessarily have the years and years of experience you need yet to study to sit for the PMP, but you're saying you're serious. Like, this is what I want to do, and I'm serious because I went above and beyond my university degree and I got the certification. So that puts you, if there are two of you and one of you has it and one of you doesn't, and the company values it, then it shows that you're serious and about your profession, and that's a good thing. The job market is really, really competitive. So it can only help. It can't hurt. It can only help. Can you give a business experience of yours demonstrating what Six Sigma looks like? I have a Six Sigma story for you. I was a consultant in an information technology firm where, when Six Sigma was really starting to get to be like all the rage, and I was in between consulting assignments and then I had to do it in addition to that. And they were like, should we, create a Six Sigma practice? So I did all this research on Six Sigma, and all the some of the big companies were doing it, and we ended up at the DuPont Country Club for a big meeting, and a chef, the top chef at the DuPont Country Club in Wilmington, Delaware, got up in front of 200 people, let's say, and said, "I'm not a speaker. I'm a chef, so please forgive me. I'm not used to this, speaking to 200 people." And he said, "But we use Six Sigma in the kitchen. We even use Six Sigma in the kitchen here at the DuPont Country Club because all of us, in DuPont had to do Six Sigma projects." And he said, "Let me tell you about working in a kitchen." Now, I had put myself through college as a bartender and a waitress, so I always knew that, there were rules when you stepped into the kitchen to go get people's food. You were not allowed to go into other certain places. There are fire and knives there. Okay. So a kitchen is actually a dangerous place, which is what he was talking about. And he said, we actually use Six Sigma to figure out how to save money, and it worked out really well for us. So they evaluated their processes and ordering, and because food goes bad, right? And if food goes bad, that's waste, and that's not good. So and the DuPont Country Club runs like giant mega events, where they're feeding hundreds of people all at the same time, which is really an incredible project. So that's what it looked like there. I haven't used it really otherwise myself because it hasn't come up that often. However, what I did notice in evaluating Six Sigma projects is that some Six Sigma people don't ever know when to make the project end. And I find that to be, a shame. So they're just, they're basically Six Sigma is really about squeezing as much juice out of that orange as you can, but you should be like, okay, stop, we did good, that's great, and then let's move on. So that's something to be aware of. I just want you to be aware of that. If you end up in Six Sigma work where, you should ask the question, like, when do we know, and you ask this for every project, how do we know when we can declare victory and call this done? How do we know when we can declare victory and call this done? Because otherwise, you're wasting your time. All right, so final questions in the last minute here. Have I ever used Kanban boards? Yes. And how often do I come up with, see them in an enterprise environment? I don't see them that often in an enterprise environment, but again, knowing all the tools for the job is really helpful, because then you can whip out the right tool to help. So I did create a very simple Kanban board for inside a chemical plant in the Netherlands once, because these guys needed a visual way to see what was happening, and it worked really well. And they enjoyed like moving their pieces from, across the board. So it was great. It worked out really well for them. Okay, how much technical knowledge a PMP must have when managing projects? For instance, is it okay if the people I'm managing have more coding experience than me? However, I understand the overall construct of the project and how it works, so I still can lead my team towards success. Yes. Yes, this happened to me. This exact thing happened to me, and it happens to all of us. So over the course of your experience with projects, the way it works is you do a project, you do well with a project, and then you just get bigger, hairier, scarier projects every time. And at some point, you start to know project management more than you know the actual technical part of the job. So like, I was a software developer, and then I ended up accidentally in project management, which you'll learn more about in my manuscript reading if you come to that. And then what happened was, I understood the code for the first couple projects, but I didn't understand anything, about the code after that. I totally knew how to sniff out whether somebody was trying to snow me, though. And that was really important, because I had done enough coding to know, what the things meant, and I could figure it out. And I could read I had a little BS detector that was working pretty well, luckily. And so that worked out fine. But yeah, you will be fine. And you lean on your technical people, right? But you always check that for sure that they're not saying to you, oh, that'll take 2 weeks, when you're like, that should take 2 hours. And you need to challenge them on that, because they will try.